临近乌克兰的国家，除了波兰之外，在旁边还有一个小国摩尔多瓦，它相当的贫穷，比乌克兰还要贫穷。可是大量难民进入到这个地方，国内有很高的亲俄罗斯的势力。前一阵子因为俄乌战争的关系，在2022年的时刻，它面临很高的通货膨胀。当地亲俄罗斯的相关的成员、政治人物等发起了对于现在政权的全面的抗争。目前国际正担心俄罗斯很可能随时策动在这个地方的，不管是以抗争的方法还是军事的政变，最后推翻掉现在摩尔多瓦的政府，而直接掌握到摩尔多瓦。
If I ask you to name a country partly occupied by pro-Russian forces, whose capital was allegedly the target of a Moscow coup, where airlines refused to fly because of Russian missiles, then you'd probably say Ukraine. But that's not where I'm talking about. Because while the world's eyes are fixed on Ukraine, all of this is happening just next door in Moldova. And as conflict rages, Putin could be fighting a hybrid war, seeing it as the best chance to bring a pro-EU nation under Russian control.
你以为这次又是欧洲国家无中生有的指控吗？或许不是。
Today, Moldova is facing hybrid threats. Protesters who are paid and supported by Russia who try to bring violence on our street.
Political instability in Moldova right now is adding to the West's fears. Here in the capital, Chisinau, there have been protests since last year. Like a lot of people around Europe, they're angry about the rise in energy bills since the war in Ukraine began. And this is already one of the poorest countries in Europe.
Дорого, я кушать не могу, у меня нечего кушать.
In fact, there was so much anger over the cost of living that the Prime Minister was forced to resign in February. And this all comes at a time when Moldova has its most pro-EU government ever, led by President Maia Sandu.
Și că generația noastră va duce Moldova în familia europeană.
俄罗斯否认与摩尔多瓦的示威有任何关联，甚至指控这些全是摩尔多瓦亲西方政府在造谣。究竟这个面积33800平方公里、人口约400万的国家，对俄罗斯有什么特殊意义呢？
Its origins go back to the Principality of Moldavia. From the 18th century, numerous empires fought over the region, and eventually Moldavia was divided. The northern section, Bukovina, became part of the Habsburg Empire. Today, that area is split between Romania and Ukraine. The western section unified with the neighboring region Wallachia in 1859, and that region now forms the basis of the modern Romanian state. And finally, the eastern section became Bessarabia as part of the Russian Empire in 1812. That region is what we now call Moldova.
这个任列强宰割的国家，在1917年趁着俄国革命再次宣告独立，成立摩尔多瓦共和国，并且与罗马尼亚组成联盟。
But not everyone agreed with independence. This area, called Transnistria, stayed part of the Soviet bloc. Then in 1940, the Soviets retook the Democratic Republic and joined the country with the Transnistria region. Zoom forward half a century, and after the collapse of the Soviet Union, Moldova declared its independence in 1991. But the leaders of Transnistria didn't recognize the new republic, so the new government declared martial law and a civil war started. The Transnistrians received weapons and soldiers from the Russians, and the war ended in 1992 with a ceasefire. Today, Transnistria remains a breakaway pro-Russian region inside the borders of Moldova. It's now home to 1,700 Russian peacekeepers, and its leader has repeatedly said Transnistria should join the Russian Federation.
In the pro-Russian autonomous region of Gagauzia, many feel closer to Moscow than the West. At the market, no one I speak to believes Russia is a threat.
The government says that Russia is trying to stir up trouble and interfere in politics here. Do you believe that?
Нет.
Do you trust President Putin?
We believe in everyone, she says. If a person is attacked, he has to defend his people. While this local TV station broadcasts news in Russian, many here get their updates directly from Kremlin-controlled channels.
If there was a war between Russia and Moldova, which side do you think people here would support?
I think probably Russia. I don't know if that would happen, but more people would support Russia here.
But the Russians say they have no intention of invading Moldova, that in fact, It's neighbouring Ukraine who wants to invade Transnistria and recently tried to assassinate its leaders. And if Russia did invade, most think that the resistance would wither far quicker than in Ukraine.
The army is not in very good shape. It's quite vulnerable to this kind of threats.
So if Russia was to invade Moldova, how many days could it resist?
Well, I think it's too optimistic to talk about days. Yeah, to be realistic. Maybe one day, maybe some hours.
Even if a ground war doesn't come soon, it represents a European democracy facing disinformation and sabotage.
谢谢你收看今天文茜的世界周报亚洲版跟文茜的世界周报欧洲版，我们明天见，感激。